How can you more consistently stick to a healthy diet? Now, the situation I'm about to describe, I think we have all experienced at some point within our lives, where we've really tried to hone in on our nutrition. We've really tried to eat the foods that are good for us. We've really tried to avoid overindulgence, but at some point have become so overwhelmed by the physical, mental, or emotional stress of the process that we haven't been able to sustain it. But we know that nutrition plays such a fundamental role in our health. And for those of us that participate in a sport, we know how impactful having great nutrition is on our sporting performance. And therefore, we know that we've got to get it right on a consistent basis. But that's very difficult to do over a prolonged period of time. And therefore, it begs the question, how can we make this easier for ourselves? How can we more consistently stick to a healthy diet? Now, the most obvious answer to go with here is to use our own instinct, to use our body's own instinctive systems in order to judge what to eat and how much. And typically our bodies are pretty good at this. We generally know what foods are good for us to eat. Similarly, when we're eating, at the point we become full, it becomes increasingly ever more painful to continue eating, thereby signaling up to our brains that it's time to stop. However, where intuition lets us down is in the fact that it has evolved and adapted around for circumstances where food is in relative scarcity, as opposed to the circumstances we find ourselves in now, where food is in relative abundance. And therefore, when we encounter the foods and the quantities that they come in today, our bodies drive us to make the most of the opportunities, which in the periods of relative scarcity would be beneficial because that opportunity wouldn't present itself very often. But in today's age, because we're presented with that opportunity pretty much whenever we want that opportunity to arise, it means that we overeat. Therefore, we need to apply conscious limits and not just rely on intuition in order to more consistently stick to a healthy diet. And the most common method of doing that is via calorie counting. Now, despite calorie counting's lack of total accuracy, it is still sufficiently accurate in order to enable us to use it as a tool to align our diets with how they should be. It still has a great deal of merit as a tool. However, like myself, for those of you that have ever used calorie counting for the purposes of aligning your diet, for the purposes of trying to optimize your diet, you understand how laborious the process is and therefore how difficult it is to sustain over the long term. Because when you're logging every food item that you eat after you eat it, that requires quite a great deal of effort, and therefore at some point you just drop the ball with it. It is very difficult to sustain over the long run. So therefore, we need a system that takes advantage both of the logic of calorie counting and enable us to align our diets with nutritional targets, but also the ease and the ease of intuition and ability to put things on autopilot so that we don't have to deal with the effort of having to put in conscious thought into every food decision that we make. And so the resulting system to this is meal planning. Now, meal planning is like calorie counting in reverse. As opposed to retrospectively logging food items as you eat them, you're planning what you are going to eat in advance to a set of nutritional values. And the beauty of this is that you do all the hard work up front and then can put yourself on autopilot. You're no longer relying on having the energy throughout the day to log all of the foods that you eat and then make conscious decisions on what you then need to eat in order to meet your nutritional targets, because you've already made those decisions in advance. Similarly, by creating recipes around your nutritional targets, you can then cycle through them, further removing the need for conscious thought, because by cycling through these recipes, you know that just by merely sticking to them, you are going to be in line with your nutritional targets, and therefore will be continually eating a healthy diet on autopilot. Similarly, by meal planning, although it's not foolproof, when things go wrong, you reduce the window in which you may need to apply guesswork, because you've already created that stable foundation, thereby creating a system that combines the accuracy of calorie counting with the sustainability of intuition, enabling us to maintain a healthy diet on a more consistent basis. If you would like further help in sticking to a healthy diet on a more consistent basis, download my 5-step guide to perfect your diet, a link to which can be found in the description of this video. In this free guide, you will learn how to perfect your diet in 5 simple steps so that you can provide your body with everything it needs on a consistent basis and thereby support your growth as an athlete. So go ahead and click the link in the description, read the guide, and let's take your performance to the next level.